So the summer before my senior year, there had been a lot of family problems and drama that added on to the fact that I was also going through some things personally that I wouldn't really disclose to anybody else. I would keep things, and I still keep things pretty private. And that kind of ended up making some kind of negative mental space for myself. When I started my senior year, I took that negative mental space and started my senior year with it. Right off the bat, I had a really bad I didn't care attitude. I didn't care about myself, my health. I stopped taking care of myself for the most part. Once school got serious, I didn't really care about that either. There was a lot of friends that I let go and I kind of now regret. And I just didn't have the attitude to deal with anything. And it wasn't until after the first grading period when I had a 1.4 GPA. Mind you, I was usually a straight A student, had an occasional B, if that. So this was really strange, not only for me, but for my friends and my family. It was at that point when one of my friends sat me down, well, my best friend actually, sat me down and told me that if I didn't get my things together and put myself together enough to actually commit to school, I would be the one who ended up repeating my senior year. Now, clearly, I didn't want that, but at that point, I had almost all D's and F's in all my classes, and I was at a point where, even though I was still with that, like, I didn't care attitude, I realized that I did need to get my things together and start focusing on my studies. Even if I did have problems going on at home, my studies would always come first. So it was during that time when I really dedicated myself to all my grades. I asked my teachers what I could do for extra help, for extra credit. I dedicated my time to even the hardest classes that I really didn't understand at the moment. And I committed to the fact that I needed to get my things together and get my grades up, because I went from being almost a straight A student years before to suddenly having all D's and F's. And it hit me at that moment that I wasn't okay. And because of that, my grades were suffering, and so was a lot of my social life, and just everything in general wasn't going right. So I got everything together, and after a while, it took a lot of hard work, a lot of late night studies. After a while, I managed to bring my grades up to mostly B's and C's, and that was by the second grading period. It took a lot of encouragement from my best friend and some few people that had to surround me and support me. It took a lot of support from them and a lot of dedication and motivation for myself to actually commit to do all that. And by the end of the third or so grading period, I had accomplished at least all B's and some A's or so in some classes too. It was that point where I was really proud of myself because of the fact that I went from not caring at all to at least improving myself to care enough about my studies and commit myself to them, as I should have from the beginning. It took a lot of willpower for me to do that, and even though it's not very acknowledged by some people, and I know that some people go through the same things, it's not openly acknowledged or supported very much. But it was at that point when I went from from a 1.4 GPA up to the 4.0 or a little bit above that I had at the moment, that I realized I was in one of the best places I could have been. It wasn't maybe a lot for some people to understand or go through, but for me personally, it took a lot of willpower and a lot of my strength that I felt like I didn't really have the time to build myself up and to commit to the kind of studies that I just really, really didn't feel like doing. And it took quite a battle to get from where I was to where I made it to ending my senior year with a 4.6 GPA. And that's something that personally I am really proud of because I know that I worked to achieve that. So that is, for me personally, what I felt that I was at my best.